And you'll
Look at
have
that.
shared privileges.
We are recording. I will share my Firefox. You'll see a bunch of other stuff I'm doing. Cool. All right. Well, let's just take a look at the repo. Kind of. Oh, why did that?
WG dash value.
Oh, whoops. Got it backwards.
Yes, don't forget the dash.
Right.
It's a dash of chaos love.
A dash of chaos love. Okay. So, hey, Sean. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
We were just going to start building out the agenda for the day. Check out if there's, I'll be very honest and say I haven't been deep in this repo of late. The Chaos Cast is is smoothing out like kind of incredibly, where we're producing almost one a week. So
Yeah.
I think I'll be able to
This is
pivot my
me.
attention.
Windows not beating my children.
Oh.
So Matt, I mean, I'll offer if you want to kind of hand off like every other meeting, I can lead some. You know what I mean? We do this like at
Yeah,
BNI, we have different facilitators each week.
I would
Yeah.
really love that.
Yep.
And I wouldn't mind taking a turn too, because I have a GSOC student who is all about large scale network analysis. And I think that fits some of the metrics. So I think it fits the mega metric that's been defined
Yeah,
quite well. In fact, I'll share.
Yeah, so
I'm
I'm
gonna
happy to help.
that would be absolutely excellent.
I'm gonna I'm gonna share in the notes what I shared with the GSOC student, because I've been thinking about network analysis for a really long time in open
Cool.
source, and I have like 5 papers that might give everyone some ideas. I can find some.
Yeah.
Everyone, Garrett
Hey,
here.
what's up, Georg? Good. Well, want to just check back through. There are, uh, in a good way, a number of pull requests worth reviewing, and kind of cruising through the agenda. I saw there was an agenda item already added here on job opportunity.
I think that
Uh,
was carryover from last time.
okay, great. Right. So yeah, let's just start looking through. We left off recentering back on the different focus areas. And let's check out Vinod's proposal and start talking from there if that sounds good.
Yep.
Can someone repost the link to the minutes?
Sure.
Because Zoom has this wonderful feature where it doesn't let you see them if they were posted before you arrived.
Yeah, that's the only feature I found that Blue Jeans has that's nicer than Zoom. Kind of that continuity of the room. But yeah, if you check that out, and then focus area, economic value, and Vinod, would you mind talking us through, reminding us where we're on that and where you want to go with it?
Vinod.
Yeah, so I propose this area as a focus area whereby we can develop different metrics like the one we have already released.
You are breaking up
The
real bad, Vinod.
Oh, no, not
Your
really.
audio is terrible.
I thought it was me. Okay.
It may be your network connection, or it may be the Bluetooth connection of your headphones have some interference.
Let me do it.
You sound okay right now.
Yeah, you sound better.
You sound better now.
It was,
Maybe it was just a momentary lapse of Bluetoothiness.
cool. All
Can
right.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I just made a wire connection instead of Bluetooth. Yeah, so that was a goal. Like we have already one metric that we have released can fit into this area, which is labor investment, and other areas like how companies are driving values can like fit into this economic focus area, and then we can think of different metrics in that domain. One of the concept I had was like how companies are utilizing open source communities in terms of open sourcing, like giving them the job of developing the software for them. So that is the concept I got from this article.
Hmm. Okay, great. Thanks for that. I think that will be good background as we continue to look through metrics and think on how that fits into the puzzle. Cool. Any other issues to walk through? Got the project popularity one. Oh, cool. Thanks for this, Matt. Yeah. So there's currently a merged project popularity metric that is all but blank. Um, and we've talked about things adjacent to popularity, like uses of popularity that are far more advanced than just the basic metric. Um, has anyone had a chance to think about this in depth, or has any sort of comments worth kicking off on that front?
I had thought about it.
Yeah.
My like I think we had talked about this a little bit last time too. Project popularity just does seem like a very meta level concept and
Mhm.
pretty unrefined. And there are, so for example, your share of voice metric
Right.
that we've kind of built out, that's considerably more precise. And share of voice would probably be part of project popularity. I mean, it could be an indicator of that. So to me, project popularity needs more precision.
Hmm. And what would it mean to be more precise in this way? Like this is where it gets.
Number of stars. Like if I just even look at the like these base metrics.
There's a, so I added a bunch of papers and some notes, but the very last one is a paper about understanding popular users on GitHub that I wrote with Kelly Blinko. And it looks at how popularity of people actually motivates the movement of other people to other projects. So if a person is followed a lot and they move to a project, a lot of people follow them.
Like
So if you want to,
people in a project.
like developers who have a lot of stars and followers,
Mhm.
so the individual. And we showed,
That's like such a duh moment for me, but I haven't been
yeah,
able to prove it.
yeah, but we proved it. We proved
Yeah.
it. That was a survey as well as some trace data analysis. And so I think if you want to understand antecedents to popular repos, you can look at individuals who choose to move to the repos. If you want to look at what repos are popular, I think one of the keys is really I think forks are not a bad indicator of interest. I think diversity of pull requests is a good indicator of interest. So I mean, if popularity means drawing in contributors who do things, then I think the actions of forking and creating pull requests from those forks, that's a significant indicator of engagement, like strong popularity.
And to back it, that's really fascinating. Like the paper angle of that's huge, and I can concur from experience that like contributors, force, and stars have all been used in my career as metrics of or pass throughs to popularity.
Right.
I guess trying to back into the question we're answering with this metric, I guess I get a little stuck of like what's like the value based proposition.
So you can think of so the value, I think there's two.
Hmm.
One is contributions. So popularity can be operationalized as contributions, which we can see through pull requests, issues, and comments on the like. The more of those that we have from more people, that is concrete indication that it's a popular project. I don't know, in the sense that people are contributing to it. I think there's a piece of data we can't get in terms of people who are curious about the project, and it's popular in a sense that people aren't really interested in contributing, but they're curious, and it's the clones of that project. So some people will just clone a project, like I've done this, just clone a project to experiment with it. And you can only get that data if from GitHub if
Yeah.
you have a role on the project. So it's tough data to get, but it is a good indicator of like, is there like this broad curiosity about a project that you you can see partly in the forks, but not
Yeah.
entirely.
I feel that that's a great differentiation, and like I'm also like the working group advocate of me is like trying to ask that question of like, but why should I care? Like, what is what is the value to whoever we're presenting a definition of value by, uh, like what's capturable about that curiosity? I mean, attention is definitely valuable.
So
I guess, yeah, the questions that were coming to my head is like from the perspective of I'm talking to people in open source program offices right now as part of my job, and they're and partners that are asking like, should I like, is this a valuable project to contribute to? Was a
mhm.
question I was actually asked, and I loved it because I'm like, oh crap, that implies a lot of things, and I think popularity is like the pass through for that. Um,
So
yeah,
in the metric that Sean, or the metric I tried to come up with,
yeah, yeah.
there's
You're
a
still coming up with it.
yeah. I think you're gonna have to cancel that pull request, and I'm gonna have to redo it because I cannot get the DCO to fix. I think it was the one right above you.
uh,
Oh, yep.
I
Yeah.
can I can fix the DCL for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
We
can
can get
fix
that. Don't worry about that part. But
So the what I was thinking of it is like from like a business perspective, they tend to like
I
yeah.
keep trying to click on
Sorry.
Max. I'm sorry. I keep trying to click on the shared screen.
Uh,
I'm like, what are you laughing at, man?
It's my own continuing stupidity. Go ahead,
so
Josh. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I changed the objectives because because what I did, it is kind of like a synthetic metric, like you talked about, Matt,
Hmm.
between contributors and corporations or companies. But like businesses tend to like forecast a lot of their like their earnings or a lot of like their actual like directions in the company. And where I was coming from on this is if we could pull in data, if we're pulling in this data from, GitHub as a source, there's already been a lot of extremely, um, you know, good projects that have, sustained themselves over many, many years and become very core to, technology as a whole. And if we could aggregate that data and basically find commonalities between that data,
Hmm.
and we can, at least in the earlier stages of projects, try to find similarities. And if an early project is showing similarities to, you know say Kubernetes, right, as a bunch of those graphs, if they start overlapping a little bit, then maybe that project in specific could be worth somebody's time to develop, as far as learning that skill to try to get hired later with that skill if it becomes popular, or a company could use that to, see that maybe that technology is going to be something that's going to stick around in the next 10 years or so, and then use that technology as part of their, strategies and hiring, or, using that as part of their workflow.
I hear you. I really like how you're connecting it to that proposition of what is valuable. Like, what are you intending to do with this data to prove that this is worth investing in? Like, that's a really strong angle. Um, I'll be honest and say I'm like torn. Like, I love how this is matured and like how you're presenting it, and the part of me is like, well, what part of it is an overlap or could re-implement the priority one that is empty, um, and like which part of it, like I wonder if like could we make like the simpler metric in this spreadsheet or in this Google Doc, and then whatever you were expanding upon that's going to grow into something more, could that be separate? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know where those lines are.
As I was like getting through it, it did seem to be a combination of a bunch of different like metrics, or like a bunch of different um, sections of your working groups, or the different working groups, even as far as
Yeah.
popularity and everything. Um, but I was just kind of grinding through it as much as I could to try to put as much singular focus as I could for the living wage.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like the data collection, so very new to that. The one thing I did have on the data collection strategy, I tried looking this up, right? Like a lot of people use the issue opening for like requesting features on GitHub,
Mhm.
right? They don't actually have a feature request. And when I tried to look like how GitHub, like you can try to propose a change for GitHub,
Mhm.
it basically you just submit, an issue on their website through like a little small text editor. Um, but like Sean was saying, like there's no real way to collect the data when people try to clone a repository. There isn't really a good way to collect issue data when, because an issue could be anything from, some small typos to somebody actually requesting a feature. I didn't know if that would be warranted, maybe more of like a formal undertaking from CHAOSS itself to try to present like a paper of some sort to GitHub itself in a more formal way to try to see if they could add that feature, because that would be another way to track a metric's popularity or a metric's growth over time.
Hmm.
A metric that I owe the common group, I think, is adjacent to what Josh is expressing, which is language, which languages are in a project and how much of each language. I think from the perspective of earning a living wage, I think there are definitely people who choose what projects to start contributing to based on the language. So right now, for example, newcomers are very interested in learning Go. And so Go
Right.
projects are very popular. Nobody wants to contribute to a Java project.
That's
Right?
I feel that vibe so hard. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you want to draw people's attention right now? Like, the thing that's even cooler than Go right now is Rust. And
Oh,
like,
really? Rust is cooler than Go.
oh hell yes, by far.
Okay. All
But
right.
Go is far more contributors now, and I think it's gotten, like, if I was gonna like hype cycle it, it's gotten into a stage where it's landing on this, like, it is now the business language. But
Right.
there's all the people that like love cutting edge are complaining about it a lot now, and they've all moved on to Rust. And
Okay.
now Crustlet is a replacement for a Go project inside Kubernetes, and it uses Rust and Wasm. Like WebAssembly is super
Crust,
popular.
Crustlet.
Isn't it great?
I love
Sorry,
that
we're way
name.
off track.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, Matt.
So I feel like, yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the original question that kind of took us to this spot was, why do I care about a person's popularity? And so that, I mean, that was what Sean was talking about, that a person, so that was this.
That's a new, so that's an
That's an
antecedent to project growth, right?
Yeah,
It
I think it's
comes
an influence.
before.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's an
Influence is the reason. Like, why would we care for a person's popularity?
I only care because the super popular users take people with them. And it's not this metric. And so I sidetracked us. Get off
Okay,
that
yeah.
idea.
I don't know what we're talking about right now then. Because it feels like there's like it feels like there's a bunch of different things going on right now. And
Sure.
so,
We're trying to track through that. We have a little bit of a knot of different understandings of popularity, and I think this was a free range conversation of how do they relate to each other that has proceeded to lose more than just you. So
yeah.
that is completely okay. So to reset, our intention was to talk about project popularity as a metric. We went to check out Josh's PR because he has project popularity as an element of this labor part.
Okay.
So trying to see if we could piece apart those two. And then Sean was bringing up how individuals influence projects' popularity. So how does that relate to it overall? Um, we I haven't landed on a place where it's like, well, this is a very clear separation of one from the other. But I think we do need to get to like the what does it mean to be popular in open source? Like that does seem like a base thing that we can capture in this. It's not even a raw metric because like everything with value already comes with sort of a ton of opinion built into what you're measuring. And I've been slowly kind of stepping towards like, I think that's okay. That's kind of the state of that.
Okay.
So to bring it back full circle, yeah. Is anyone got time or interest in contributing to project popularity and refining it here?
So I put in the text chat the 4 things that I think we were talking about all at once. And I'm interested in, we can focus the conversation on project popularity. That seems wise.
Okay. Maybe if there were 4 metrics, that's why I wasn't tracking.
I think there are 4 different metrics that were being discussed.
I actually think that the person's popularity, like tracking person popularity, might actually be a metric by itself. I think that's a fairly interesting.
Yeah.
And I can give you a couple of reasons why, but.
And so that I agree. And I would roll that into project future popularity probability indicators as one factor so that, although you could have it as a discrete metric, my only concern with it as a discrete metric is it's about individuals instead of projects. And I don't know if we've stayed away from that, but maybe accidentally until now.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I just mapped out like the snag that from chat.
Okay.
Matt, what would be helpful for you to zoom into next?
So, okay, so, so what would be helpful for me is actually just go back to that prior screen that you were on. Nope, the back arrow.
Oh, I just went forward. So I think
it was the common.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So what would be super helpful for me is to begin to articulate what the focus areas are. So again, following that goal, question, metric approach.
Yeah.
So what in value, what are the primary goals we're trying to elicit or trying to address?
Yeah.
Irrespective of metrics at the moment.
Right. If I can lean on the repo.
Yep.
Two I can think of it right now. One was social aspect of that, and one was which I proposed on the economic focus area, economic value.
So, yeah, the umbrella for me is like what gets people to invest in their community.
Okay. Okay. So.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So so the goal then is to determine how people invest in their community? Just written.
Yeah, I get, and if we keep it simple, I think that leads right to what you just said, Vinod. Like, so like we're like working our steps down into the economic value.
Okay.
Goal, determine how people invest in their community.
And then there did seem to be a couple weeks ago, something about, as Vinod pointed out,
Sure. Yes.
the social reach or the social impact that the project is having. So not just a determination of
We
why
use the
it
word
must go. Go ahead.
the reputation thing.
Oh, reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah, this idea that um, the social aspect being that if a project is being spoken about, if we can trace places where it's being spoken about, that means there's attention and interest around that project. Therefore, it is valuable.
So in the notes, I have two kind of goals there.
Mm-hmm.
So then the first goal of to determine how people invest in their community, the focus area name. Oops. Oops. So one focus area might be reputation.
Yes.
That could be a focus area.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
there we're trying to determine reputation, and then we have a series of metrics that can help us determine that reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the focus area for determining how people invest, is it how people invest or why people invest? Or why?
Yeah. That's where I get, that's a great question. Because I'm like, it's like how we know people invest through funding, full-time headcounts, through consulting, through other things.
Yeah.
But the why, I don't know if I
Like
care about.
answering why you want to go to college is a set of answers versus how you go to college is
Yeah.
a very
Oh,
different set of answers.
why? There were 7 children in my house, and I was the oldest, and I wanted to get the hell out.
Yes.
College was the fastest way.
So then
Yeah.
once you're there, you start answering a bunch of how questions. Like how do you register for classes? How do you find housing? Those are different questions than why.
Yeah. Yeah. I just need it.
We don't even have a why that I see.
Right. I think it is ultimately a why, like why to, because we want to understand, not tell people. Like, yeah, how is an imperative? Like,
How you do it. Yeah.
yeah, this is how you, like, I don't know if we can tell people how to value like a community. We need to ask why they value it and then reverse engineer.
Okay, so to determine why people invest in their communities of interest or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, so I would just say we can't find out why unless we talk to people.
That's fine.
So we might also be looking for some kind of proxy or indicator of motivation. And I think language is one of the biggest ones. I think hireability. If you see these projects on job boards, I think that's a factor. So these are proxies for why.
You're down in the metric.
Right,
Mm.
right. So why is a high level area. Yeah.
So would the focus area name be
Hmm.
investment? Is that not the right word?
Or
Why is a good
economic.
why is the good word? Because it's the only of the 4 or 5 words that are missing. It's consistent with the others.
The focus area name is called why.
I it's totally consistent with the other
Oh,
ones we
no, no.
have.
This is we're looking at common right here.
Oh,
This was
okay.
just an example. I was just
I see. I
asking
see.
Matt to go back.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's where I was totally confused, but not realizing we were looking at common.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
where I was like thinking in terms of economic, like what is the economic value, why we invest.
Just to get a different angle than the who, what, where, when, why.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Vinod presented economic, which is
But economics to me might be one part of why you what investment
yeah,
is. I mean, there could be, um, I don't know, I don't know. I'm sure there's other reasons why. I mean, for goodwill could be a
Yeah,
reason. I have
reputation,
no economic interest. It's simply the right thing to do. It could be from a, I guess
passion.
it always kind of rolls up to economics for me. So even if it's like a strategic reason why you do it or a marketing reason why you do it, I think there's always economics behind it.
yeah.
Um, so maybe investment isn't quite the right name for this focus area. So I don't know if you're seeing the chat or not the chat, the notes.
Yep. Yeah, I got it.
So um,
Trying to think.
WG value doesn't have focus areas right now, right?
they,
Correct. We blew them away.
Right.
so they exist on the website, but the goal is to kind of republish those with the next release. So we
Okay.
would keep the existing set of metrics, from what I understand. Matt, you could tell me if it's different, but we would keep the existing set of released metrics to kind of rethink how they are
Yeah.
brought together
Okay.
in new focus areas.
Exactly right.
Um,
Thinking like, yeah, when I first proposed, like,
there's
I
individual value that
I'm
I
very
see.
open to, like, I am very confused. I appreciate like that the focus areas, and that's why I'm like, I need you to continue to facilitate this, Matt. But like, it doesn't land in my head yet. But
When
like,
I
these are
look,
the kind of questions that I had as I was like looking to bring some.
Yeah, I think my guess is looking at I think just where you start is at the question, which is totally fine. I just think you and we try to start at the goal. And so I think we're
Not get fired. Like,
yeah, right. I mean, that could be a goal. So then what are the questions that need to be answered to do that? And you zero in on the question sooner.
yeah. No, this is very helpful. I feel like this
Yeah.
is like
So it's
free
certainly not
mentorship and therapy wrapped in one.
yeah,
I
no, what you're doing is 100%. We can go kind of directionally different here. We can take a look at your questions. And so, can I secure funding to start an event without focusing on lead generation? So, what does that mean?
so
So, yeah, to give that some non-corporate language on top. So, normally, the default way a Fortune 500 or even tech-oriented startup, the reason that they end up funding going to a conference or an event or attending it, sending people, the metric you're expected to bring back in every case I've asked hundreds of people in
Yeah.
lots of different roles. It's always like, well, how many leads did we generate? How many of the people did you talk to are ultimately in the sales pipeline to purchase whatever we're selling, the SaaS product related?
Why do people want that metric?
I made
They
some
because
comments in
because
the
we want
chat.
to we want to community teams or community initiatives are often not aligned to sales goals on their own, but they're still valuable and they have no chance of uh, communicating value because the only acceptable definition of value is lead generation.
Okay, so this question is to help foster sales goals. Is that right?
It's actually a how question. Like, how do I get to go to an event or fund an event without while staying separate from sales and like just focus on this community effort that is
Start an event
So
without.
I put some things in chat that I see individual value, organizational value, and community value, and possibly social value as focus areas. I see most of Matt's metrics guidelines as representing organizational value, I
Okay.
Yeah.
see 3 of the 4 archived metrics being, or 2
Individual
of them
value.
are at least focused on individual value.
Yes.
Um,
It,
so those 4 that I put in chat are candidate ideas for what
Great.
focus areas might be.
Great.
What he said. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. And actually, and that kind of maps pretty easily. You know what I mean? Like I can
Mhm.
understand that there are metrics that you want to derive. That the goal is to improve organizational value.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There are metrics that you want to gain that are aimed at improving community value. Same for individual value and same for social value.
Sure. Yeah, community value through I don't want to sidetrack it. Like I think I need to understand the nuance of each of them, but you're 100% right that like I've been thinking of the value working group differentiated from the rest of chaos by being like specifically oriented towards organizational value since my interpretation is that's a bit of a blind spot so far and it's a very very common question. um,
I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna. Oops.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
Took us off track. I owed us.
You really came through.
Okay, so Sean, can you go to the minutes real quickly?
Yeah.
You see at the I'm gonna add page numbers. Um, at the top of page 2.
Where there's a lot of highlighting.
Yeah. I'm back at the minutes.
Yeah.
I keep trying to click on that screen. I'm so stupid.
Well, look, I think in the focus areas we'd get rid of the dangling term value, but
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's repetitive, and we're in the value working group,
so
so
could you?
community, social, organization, and individual. I'm gonna do a pull request to add those focus areas under a focus areas directory.
First, do you see in the minutes where we're at here?
Yes, I think so. I think I'm seeing here.
Top
Yeah.
of page 2.
Yep.
So for the focus areas, can you, can you rethink the goals? Like what would be the goal of determining community value? So what does that mean?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If
And
we have,
how
oh,
how we can grow our community.
yeah, so is the value proposition to and a participant in the community or somebody looking at the community
Yeah.
externally?
it could be anybody. So any of those
Yeah.
yes would be fine. So we then have kind of a variable set of metrics that can help if you're a community manager determine kind of the internal view value of your community. If you're an external person like in an OSPO, right, and you're trying to determine the value of a community, there could be a different set of metrics that you would turn to. So what does communal value mean, Sean?
So for community value, I just put a goal. I drafted a goal in the notes of what I think of that as. Um,
So then, Matt, kind of looking those questions that you had posed
Mm-hmm.
was on a prior
Yep.
version of that one. So as these goals are getting drafted in the different focus areas, do these questions for you start helping address the goals as written? You see what I'm saying? Can we start dropping some of these questions
Yeah.
underneath the goal? So like if I can answer the question, can I secure funding to start an event? Right, that first one. If I can
Mm-hmm.
answer that question like successfully through some metric, right? Does that um, help provide greater transparency on communal value or individual value or social value or organizational value? Like you're posing this question, meaning that you want an answer to it.
Yep.
And so if I can answer this, like I can successfully answer this, so it's a yes no question. So yes I can secure funding,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some way of measuring that I was able to secure funding without focusing on lead generation. I have some metric that will ultimately have to be produced to be able to answer that question.
And if you're subcategorizing the focus areas under reputation and motivation to invest, I think organizational value is under what gets people to invest in the community. Like, or companies invest in communities because there's some economic return for them.
Yes, the current.
Although they might be motivated by I mean, obviously, if they're picking, they're going to choose one that looks likely to succeed, I guess.
Sure, yeah, it's definitely that gamble. So, are we saying are these four focus areas though? Like, I shouldn't take them in the context of what we were talking about with reputation, right? Like, these are.
You can put them anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think reputation and investment are wrapped, they're kind of orthogonal to every single focus area because they're to some extent factors in each of the focus areas identified.
Right. Yeah, I'd say like it's really like we're either slicing it, vertically or horizontally, and like let's choose one.
Right, right.
So right now I'm still wrapping my head around this one. Like I think of it like I felt like I had the horizontal of reputation uh and economics in my head, and now I'm like trying to see like what does it mean to separate like a social value from
Can I let me propose
Yeah.
a different entry then that might like kind of get the wheels turning. If you go to, I'm going to put it in the chat. If you go to this link, right?
yeah.
These are the currently published value metrics.
Yep.
Okay, so don't worry about the focus area at this point.
Yeah.
Just look at like the question and the metric. So for the SCMS, we'll just start with that. How does one measure the value of community interactions that accurately gauge trust within a community as evident? So if we could answer that question through the SCMS metric, does that shed light on communal value? Is that what this is shedding light on, or is this shedding light on social value?
I it's not clicking for me what the difference is yet, even though I'm reading the goal, like they kind
Yep.
of don't separate for me. Sean, could you take a swing at it?
Um, so I just made a comment because I wanted to not talk over people, but I I think we agree that reputation and investment are orthogonal. And I think that some of the metrics developed under each focus area will check investment or reputation or both. And is the presentation of that matrix, well, not how we're doing things in other working groups. Is there some value in explaining what value is to not trying to resolve it one way or another? Because value is a very complex thing that people interpret in lots of different ways.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, is there innate complexity in this working group because of how, like, what value is just means so many different things to so many different people.
But that doesn't preclude us, does it, from trying to provide some structure?
No, not at all. Like, no, I mean, I think we can, like, what I would suggest is starting with the focus areas, and maintaining these organizing questions as maybe a novel component of this working group because they might evolve. And as the metrics we specifically develop emerge, how this, I mean, I think this is going to be a problem for the whole project, but eventually, but it's a challenge for value right now. I mean, I think having the what is the reputation of the project and what gets people to invest in their community are important questions, and these focus areas don't have to be classified under those questions. They can be, I don't know, some different level of explaining the working group, perhaps.
Yeah. So focus areas aren't under questions. Questions are under focus areas. And then
Right.
um, I'm real hesitant of having a different structure
Mm-hmm.
for value work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, we have 10 minutes to go. Here's what I think we like to wrap up. Here's what I propose that what I'll do for the next meeting is try to take a crack at these questions and where they might reside in the defined focus areas, along with Matt, the questions that you had on that prior page that you were showing.
Yeah. I mean, these have a very specific lean. I clearly wasn't able to secure funding for an event when I wrote these down. Like it's like there's that experience bias happening here. Um, and I think I've gravitated towards this group because of the challenge of organizational value as like a distinct and underserved classification. So when I try to, I'm like staring, I see the individual value ones based on existing metrics. I'm not drawn to them, but I can see that they slot in there very well. Social and community, still the cogs are turning really slow for me this morning on how they work.
They may collapse into one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's totally fine. I mean, what Sean had put forward, I mean, those are, I think, great organizing structures, but they may shift a little bit.
Think it's very smart to have something that's like the value of something like for towards society. Like that's such an element of what the very ethos of open source and people.
Yeah.
And I think it's healthy to separate that from organizational value so that we can help
Yeah.
people understand like you value this awesome and I completely agree that that's valuable, but here's how your organization is seeing it. And like they're not aligned. They use different metrics. Like I like the possibility of those being complementary.
I really like individual value too, because I think
Yeah.
people can individually benefit from participating in open
Yeah.
source,
No,
which is
yeah,
different from the corporate angle.
mm-hmm.
Um, so why don't I'll kind of put this on my to-do list is to try to bring kind of the pieces we have like on the page you're showing here, along with the released metrics under the organizing structure that Sean put forward. And it won't all fit clearly, but
Yeah.
it'll at least be a way to start organizing the pieces that we have.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I started to on individual. I just started to see if like the metrics that are shown here on the link you sent, the released ones, like do they slot under any of these categories? Do others find that helpful?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. So yeah,
Okay.
how would they slot? And they may slot a little bit into two categories, but sometimes we just kind of have to pick. Like it's a better fit.
Yeah.
Like a metric could actually tell us two stories, but sometimes we just, from an organizing perspective, just pick one focus area.
That's
Sean.
so funny. I've been passionately beating the drum, and I'm realizing like I'm beating the drum for like 1/4 or to 1/3 of what we're trying to cover here. So like, no, this is a very very helpful realignment. I'm really glad.
Well, and frankly, it's
We're
okay
doing.
to focus on that quarter
Yeah,
first. Like, we don't have to build things out for every focus area. We can drill into the focus area that you want to drill into.
Yep.
totally.
Like, I think this is adding enough context that a newcomer can come to this page and understand what we call value is.
Oh yeah, value lives in these three different places: the person,
Yeah.
society, and the organization. And from an organization perspective, here are the questions and metrics that can be brought forward to help gain better insight on organizational value.
Yeah, it's really starting to click. Yeah, Sean.
And I think that the two questions that Matt Broberg has right now, as if I look at the current focus area README, I agree that we don't want to create questions above focus areas, but I think those can be incorporated into the intended audience section. That those are, I mean, those are themes that reach across everything, and we don't have to put a hard classification scheme in place to note that those are two things that are driving what we're doing here in an introductory paragraph.
No, that's fair.
I'll also put it out there, like, I think this revision, this page here under metrics, pre-existed my understanding of where we were going. So proposals to edit this, remove sections, like I no longer feel like these questions are well aligned to what we're talking about. I'd really love to see it change, and I have no ego attached to it whatsoever. Yeah.
Nor many of us, I don't think.
You're the
Yeah,
perfect
so-
open source developer then.
Yeah, no, please. Yeah, more deletes, the better.
Yeah.
Good. So with just a little bit, I think it's starting to wrap my head around it. So how does one, so a possible community value that's separate, maybe it's a social value, that's where I'm getting stuck, but let's call it a community value of, like, this community is diverse and inclusive as measured by the D&I community group. Like, how does that interrelation, like, would we have a metric in this group pointing back to that one in some sense? Or like, how do those lines work?
Possibly, because we've cross-referenced metrics between working groups already. I think there's also community value can be assessed by just technical interconnection, like how many projects depend on this project. That's community value in a sense.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so I'd say I'd probably put that as like a separate but also important question.
Yep. Oh, it would be a separate but important question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your point's well taken. Let me think about that, like how the easiest way to cross-reference would occur. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I'm like, I think I know a lot of people that, like, they're like, well, I don't want to join this group because it's a bunch of white dudes.
Yep.
And I, not to us, I mean, in general, like, they go to, they see a group of people, they're like, that none of these people are representative of me. Like, I will feel like an outsider. I'll go somewhere else because there are lots of other communities. Yeah.
I know for a fact evolution, common, and risk working groups all have references to and from each other.
Yeah, and to that point, like, is this community I'm about to participate in, is it on the growth scale, or is it declining in health? Like, that is another one that I think links back to, like,
like we can
link back to organizational value of, like, whether I should invest in it or not, or cancel my investment, a la OpenStack. Okay. All right. Well, Matt, I'll look to follow your lead on this.
Yeah.
Our next meeting is scheduled 2 weeks out.
Yep. And I'll facilitate that one if you'd like.
Please. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll just add the notes. We'll, like, set up notes to just kind of continue this conversation because it's such a good focus. In the meantime, I'll just comment on existing PRs, like saying, like, hey, we're taking a step back and looking at focus groups. Here's what we have so far. Just to give people some heads up.
Yep.
That sounds good. I got to run to my next meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Same here. Thank you so much. Appreciate seeing y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, gang.
Yeah.
Later, guys.